Hi, this is Jeff Lesher with What's the Point? And the point this week has to do with training and whether your training is constraining and potentially draining, or whether it's about attaining in a way that will have all of us gaining. So think about that. Training is actually at the root of constraining. We too often either create a narrow path with result to what we teach people how to do, or we create an irrelevant path which saps the resources of the organization and really wears down the individuals going through what turns out to be meaningless or marginally useful information and potentially skill development. Now, I'm thinking about it this week because I'm about to have, as a guest on our podcast, Inevitable: The Future of Work, a colleague, a friend, and an author who has written a book called Thrive. His name is Andrew Friedman, and Thrive is all about how to codify and enable high performance in the largest group of people possible. And one of the real benefits of the approach outlined in the book, which will be released in late January, called Thrive, is that the training that we offer, the resources, the development of people overall, are all tied into what is necessary in order to achieve and sustain high performance in a particular role. And then in roles, if you are able to create growth and mobility throughout the organization. As somebody who has worked within and for some large organizations, helping them assess the humongous training library that they have and the incredible cost that goes along with it. For one of my employers, a large telecommunications firm, they spent well over $350 million a year on training alone. And the number of titles in their catalog was in the tens of thousands. And the number of actual relevant courses was in the hundreds. And we were able to move them from the tens of thousands to the thousands, which is a savings, but it's still a lot of stuff. And then if you think about your individual bandwidth, your interests, your energy, your time, what do you want to be learning to do? Things that really go to the heart of the matter and help you be successful at the highest level, or just learning stuff because somebody thought it was a good idea or you didn't know any better. Is training helping you to attain what will help you gain, or is it merely constraining and thus draining? That's the opportunity that we have to look deeply into what it is that we're doing and why when it comes to understanding what's most important in a role. If you don't know, if you think, you guess, probably, you don't. And that's fine. We have a way to help you, but you could do it yourself if you just looked at the people who truly are best at what they do. And not just in terms of performing the skill set, the technical element of the role, but who are really creating a whole that's greater than the sum of its parts, that are raising people up in the process of doing their work, are helping to chart a better way to do something within the organization, often without being aware of that and not necessarily writing it down as a result. So by your study alone, you can archive and then be able to share some of this information and insight that's critical. But it all starts with the idea of, are we teaching our people the right thing? And oh, by the way, here's something that still is necessary to address even in 2020. People are reluctant to invest in their people. The leaders are reluctant to invest in their people because they say, and have for decades, I'll only be preparing them for the next employer. Okay, maybe you will be. But here are a couple of facts. So number one, when people feel supported by their organization, not just actually having the means to be more effective, but feeling as though they're being invested in, they perform at a higher level. And here's the better part. they're likelier to stay. In fact, they're as likely to stay as if they have a positive relationship with their manager, which they probably do because the manager is paying enough attention to make sure that they're invested in. But essentially, what you're then investing in, even if the person eventually leaves and goes somewhere else, is a much more highly engaged and productive person, a more valuable person than you would have otherwise. Should you do an ROI on the way in which you're preparing them, making them better? Sure, 100%. And the mere cost of investment is not enough to preclude you from investing. That is, the return is likelier to be greater than the investment. And not just for that individual, but for the tone that it sets that results in attracting others and helping to, in an applied way, actually raise their level of performance as well. So if training is really draining, if training is not gaining, then you're doing it wrong. And the likely root of that wrong is that you haven't fully understood what's most important to high performance in the roles that you're trying to support now and in the future. Take the time to figure it out. If you're unsure, reach out. If you're patient, wait until January 26th and you can read about it in the book. But I think that the answer is a combination of all of those things. Oh, and by the way, you don't even have to wait probably until January 26th. You can wait till January 21st and we'll release the podcast that we're going to record tomorrow. So the point is, training, development, investment, all of that should be good. And it can be a lot better than it is if you thoughtfully focus it on what's most relevant to support high performance in the key roles within your organization. Do that, and you will be that much better in a better way. And that is the point.